So it looked like Mr. Donald is gone. But is he gone for good? I mean, who knows? Uh, Sometimes I wonder, and I know you probably wonder too, how somebody like that creeps his way up to the highest office in the land and then is not only does he wreak havoc for his entire 4 year tenure, but he's also allowed to do it until the midnight hour here recently, uh, a day ago. His most loyal supporters allowed for him to do it. You ever wonder why that is? Well, I have a spiritual theory of why that is, and you can take it how you want, do what you will with it, but God, the universe, God doesn't give you what you want. God gives you what you are. And whether you say you want God, whether you say you want harmony with the universe, whether you say you want Jesus Christ, none of that really makes a difference truly to God. It really doesn't. Because God knows what you are. I mean, if you look at the last president, even the one before him, they had certain types of personalities that we, we thought were customary to what the president should be. Um, when Clinton got in office, we got a little beside ourselves with the little scandal he had with Monica, and then when George Bush Jr. got in office, he got criticized because of the way he handled 9/11. I mean, the job I guess comes with its bumps and whatnot, and so it got kind of interesting when Obama um, got in office. We all know that black people were waiting for the day when they can say we got our very first black president. So he gets in the office, and then all kind of weird things started happening. If you really think about it, the underlying true hateful attitudes that people have actually started coming out when Obama was in office. I mean, the full blown racism exploded once Trump got in office, but the concealed hatred actually really started seeping out um, to become obviously overt to everybody when Obama was in office. And what's so interesting about that, I personally believe that the guy handled the job with much dignity, much class, and he was very poised, intelligent, the whole 9 yards. And the collective hatred of America just wasn't satisfied with that. I personally believe uh, that Obama gave us an example of how we should conduct ourselves amongst each other, with each other, and around each other. I truly believe, and I say that because the world leaders that we get, whether they're kings or queens or presidents or whatever, emperors, prime ministers, whoever, they are representations of the collector inner spiritual nature of the countries that they represent. They are collective, symbolic idols, if you will, of our inner states. So we we have wars going on within our systems, and we call that spiritual warfare. What we are tends to war with what we desire to be. For instance, a person may be hateful inside, but he may have a surface desire to be loved and to love. And it wars with that inner hatred. So I think Obama's tenure was a manifestation of that desire of how we would like to be. But then our inner hatred began to war with that example, with that overt example of Obama, both Barack and Michelle. Our inner natures begin to war with that example because our inner natures, there's a lot of self-hate going on in each and every individual. And so not only did white people start criticizing him, and inklings of racism started seeping out, but black people started hating on him, and they started inventing reasons to hate on him that don't make sense. They warred with that example. I know some black men in particular that had spirits of jealousy. I know some black men that were angry because of the whole thing about Obamacare. I've heard black people say, okay, he did more for gay people than he did for us. But man, those are all surface reasons. None of that is really, really valid. Especially the black people who call themselves Christians. Can't see the forest for the trees. So you had an example to mimic. An example that could cut through all the red tape of hatred and racism and bring us to a state of unity. Because our surface desires for what we'd like to be or be like was put in the White House. But we rejected it. And some of us rejected it by way of admiration, admiring the Obamas in the wrong way and for the wrong reasons, just because they were black people. That's idolatry. So even the people that appreciated his time in office, a lot of those people did it in the wrong way. And what happens next? Something very sinister, sadistic, something very much like the average American's inner mental state, inner spiritual state, was put in office, and that was Donald Trump. That anger, that hatred, and Trump's hatred was unbiased. Black people called him a racist, but he was unbiased. He hated everybody, whether they worked for him or not. And that's what inner hatred, anybody that suffers from inner self-hatred, they might not think they do, but they resent everybody and everything, whether black or white. So what was enthroned after Obama was a reflection, a projection of our own inner self-hatred. didn't like that. We didn't like that one bit. Some people relished it because there are some people that embrace self hatred. Everybody ain't trying to reject it. They say they do, but they don't. Everybody ain't trying to reject self hatred. Some people relish in it, they embellish it, they glorify it, and they use it as their spiritual premise. And what that does is causes them to be hypocrites. Like, they'll do things like say that they're patriots. Then they'll tear down the American flag and put up a Donald Trump flag. Or, you know, take the average Christian. They'll call themselves followers and disciples of Jesus. And then they go out and disobey the very dictates he instructed them to perform. They go out, argue. They keep these self-hating people in their midst just so they can have somebody to fuss and fight with. Even if they're not out in the streets warring physically, they're warring via social media. And I've actually, speaking of social media, I've actually challenged people who are in my friends list to delete these people that they're warring with constantly, almost daily. Ultimately, some of them decided that it was too much to bear, and they did. But some of them to this day are still doing that. I've seen some of my friends, family, classmates, and whatnot who have military buddies that they're friends with who also happen to be racist. And it doesn't dawn on them that it doesn't make sense to say you're a veteran that fights for your country, but you're also a racist. So you fought a war right alongside a man who you inherently hate, yet and still you're fighting for that man as a war vet. I mean, that's senseless hypocrisy in a nutshell. That's confusion. That's just hate. That's what hate is. Hate and hypocrisy are synonymous. So, our true collective inner natures. Now, mind you, there are a few people out there that really are working on spiritual progress because they actually know what it is beyond religion, beyond what religion teaches the Bible. They actually know what real spiritual progression is. But those people are the very select few that the Bible talks about. The Bible says the gate to life is straight and very narrow, and very few ever find it. So when you think about the 3 billion Christians estimated in the world today, 3 billion. They've lost the way. And it's easy to see by how they go out and interact with other people. What's interesting is that there are several instances in the Bible where God admonishes his people not to mix with other people. And I think a lot of people, what they do is take everything literally. things like that, at least, they take literally. Obviously, there are some things that you have no choice but to take figuratively, but things like that, they take literally all the time. And it never dawns on them when God says don't mix. It has mental and spiritual implications, like don't mix with these mentalities because you'll affect your very own and your mentality becomes like theirs. And I'm talking about those mentalities of hate. So, if you really, really think about it, everybody, whether you voted for them or not, everybody asked for somebody like Donald Trump to be in office. Everybody asked for it. By way of the hatred, by way of the hypocrisy, everybody asked for Trump. And what did Trump do? He rejected everybody because that's what hate does. Your own self-hatred causes you to reject yourself. That's what self-hatred is. And this is why Donald Trump not only rejected non-whites, he rejected whites as well. Because that's what self-hatred does. It rejects everything. Everything is bad to it. Everything is bad. So, enough people did cry out to get him out of office. Just like, it reminds me of the Hebrew people that cried out in Egypt because of their oppression, and they end up getting out, but they ended up getting stuck in the wilderness. We got to be careful that we don't get stuck in the wilderness because, okay, you cried out loud enough collectively and got rid of Donald Trump. But what's next? What's next? I don't know. We know Joe Biden is in office and Kamala and a lot of us seem to have breathed a sigh of relief, but what's next? What are they really going to do to fix anything? I don't know what's going to come next, but I tell you what should be next. What should be next is everybody at the level of the individual begin to work on their own spiritual essences. It begin to start understanding how to not be guided by self-hatred, but to understand how to reject self-hatred, how to cast self-hatred out of our systems, how to reject what is currently inside you that is rejecting you. That's what should be next. Anyway, man, this has been a little extra long rant, but I just felt like I needed to put those thoughts out there. Y'all stay safe. And subscribe to the Spiritology Television Network. God bless.